Welcome back to Stop Ruining My Childhood.
A sometimes nostalgic, sometimes cynical look back at pop culture.
Join us as we revisit movies, cartoons, and live-action TV of the 80s and 90s and ask the question...
Does this hold up, or did I just ruin my childhood?
My name is Megan.
And I'm Steve.
And you can probably tell we're, I think I mentioned this in the Mother's Day podcast. I'm not sure which order we're going to put these in quite yet, but we're still recovering a little bit from COVID. So we're a little stuffy.
But, it's fine.
But doing fine. Doing fine. And thankfully, we didn't get hit with it too hard. Today, we are reviewing Muppet Babies.
Muppet Babies from our childhood.
From our childhood. So we're in the first bit of our cycle. We have a cartoon and then a live action TV and then a movie. So we're going to do Muppet Babies and then Little House on the Prairie and then Dream a Little Dream. So that is our game plan for the next couple weeks. And you can find Muppet Babies. The links for the shows that we watched are going to be on our blog. So you can visit us at stopruiningmychildhood.com and our Watch With Us page. We also watched an episode of the reboot of Muppet Babies, which you can find on Disney Plus. And I'll put the links for that on our blog as well.
Yep.
And I'm really excited today. I've been waiting for this. So today is the first day of our new segment called What is Steve Willing to Watch? That's what I'm calling it. And so basically what we're going to do, we have the show picked out, but not all of the episodes for our next episode. So I have some descriptions of some Little House on the Prairie episodes, and Steve's going to decide which one he's willing to watch. Or which one he's excited to watch. Right. Let's put it that way. I shouldn't be quite so negative about it. I have a feeling with Little House, maybe Steve isn't quite as excited about that as some of the other things. So yeah, whenever we have episodes, that's going to be our new segment. I've already got one or two picked out, and then Steve will pick some out here live for us on the show. So we'll do that at the end after we do our final rating as kind of a sneak preview for next time.
Yep. But first, it is our non-sponsored snack review.
Our non-sponsored snack review today
is Smarties.
So, Steve, we both have little...
Snack from your childhood.
Both have little rolls. They kind of look like pellets all put into a roll. And while Steve's eating, I'll give you a little background. So, Smarties were developed after World War II. The D family bought pellet machines and repurposed them to make candy. So it's a little tablet style in the shape and the texture. And in 1949, the D family moved from the UK to New Jersey. And they had just two machines and a rented facility. And they started the CD Candy Inc., which changed its name officially to Smarties in 2011. But at one point, sugar prices spiked and they switched to formula a little bit. But basically, this is a cool story. It's a candy company that's been owned by 3 different generations of the same family, which we're finding in some of these candy stories.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to have a family company that keeps going on and on.
You always think of Nestle and Hershey and the bigger, Mars, but it's really interesting that so many of these are just made a small family company and they just specialize in one candy.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really actually, not only is it impressive that they were able to keep it in the family for so many generations, but also that they were able to keep a business going selling sugar chalk, basically. Which is kind of, as I've eaten my Smarties.
I kind of it's tartar than I remember. They're called Rockets in Canada, because Canada has another candy called Smarties that's a chocolate-coated.
So why are these called Smarties? Why did they go with that name?
It doesn't have to do with intelligence. This is kind of funny. So actually everybody thinks I picked these because I feel like Muppet Babies are smart, little smarties, they have imaginations. But it doesn't have to do with the intelligence. To smart means to hurt or to have your face involuntarily pucker.
Oh, and because they're sour a little bit?
Because they're a little bit sour, you go, ooh, and it kind of smarts. And they've got, the wrapped rolls have white, which is cream. Yellow is pineapple, pink is cherry, green is strawberry, purple is grape, and orange is banana. No, I'm just kidding. Orange is orange.
Green is strawberry?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think it would be lime. We're both taking a green right now. I kind of get, they just kind of taste all the same to me.
They taste mostly the same, yeah, like sugar chocolate.
With a little bit of citric acid.
Yeah. Did you like Smarties as a child? Were they one of your go-to candies?
Smarties are like the candy that you get at Halloween. I only remember getting Smarties at Halloween.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, Smarties.
Well, no, I kind of was like, okay, so the Mother's Day bonus episode is actually coming up next week, now that I'm remembering our lineup. And someone, I won't say who, but it was definitely my mom, picked Necco wafers. Necco wafers are like the candy that like you give to your mom when you get them or your grandma, I guess, or your great grandma. But Smarties were like, okay, I ate my chocolate and I'll have some Smarties.
Yeah.
You know, they're okay. I don't hate them. They're not candy cigarettes. They're not Necco wafers.
Right.
They're very chalky though.
I remember them from my childhood is like in elementary school, they were the candy that you're like, but they are pretty much pure sugar. So me and like the little degenerates I would hang out with would crush them up and snort them.
Yeah. I remember kids doing that now that you're saying that. I never did that, first of all, because I don't want to pretend to do cocaine, like even as a...
Right.
As like
I mean, that's not cool. Right.
Well, it probably would have been cool, and I was just like rolling my eyes like, what do you think, you're Scarface? You're in third grade. The second reason is I don't want my nose to hurt. I don't like that.
Yeah, it wasn't a pleasant. I don't know why it was cool to do that, because I don't recall it being a pleasant sensation.
That's also like, those are the same guys that like when they're in college, they snort wasabi. Like at a Japanese restaurant. Okay, so, I also want to say, funnily enough, because they are mostly sugar, Smarties candies are peanut-free, gluten-free, fat-free, and vegan. So if you're a vegan, you can have these and not feel bad.
Because there's really nothing else in them.
Really nothing but sugar.
They're like powdered sugar pressed into a little pellet.
Yeah. Okay, so... we always rate on a scale of 1 to 5 for the snack and 1 to 10 for the show.
Yep.
So today...
how many diapers do you
have? No.
Because it's Muppet Babies.
How many pacifiers?
Okay.
It's Muppet Babies. We always pick something random. So pacifiers. Out of 5 pacifiers, little passies, how many?
I'm gonna give Smarties the deuce.
The 2?
2 out of 5 pacifiers.
Man, I'm gonna go with a 3. I kind of like them. I'm not gonna eat them every day, but they're okay. They make my mouth pucker a little bit, but not unpleasantly. Not like Sour Patch.
I can't believe you like these, but you don't like candy cigarettes, which
I know,
awesome.
It's pretty much the same formula almost, but I think it's the citric acid, that little bit of pucker. That's kind of what I like about it. And I don't like things that are super sour. Like, I'm not going to eat, like, we'll probably have to at some point, but I don't want to eat lemon heads.
Or Sour Patch Kids.
Sour Patch Kids have a little bit of sweetness underneath.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of sugar.
It's the ones that are like super, super sour. I just don't have any interest in it. All right. So pause for effect.
Yeah.
2.5 pacifiers out of 5 for Smarties. So let's get into Muppet Babies. It is only available on YouTube right now. Disney does not have the full rights for it, and we'll talk about why in a minute. But Steve, can you give us kind of a rundown or an overview of at least of the show?
Sure. Muppet Babies was started in 1984, and it's basically the overview is it's an animated version of the Muppets, but they're all babies, and they are in a nursery with Nanny, who is an adult you never see. You just see her legs, and you hear her voice. But they basically go through imaginary adventures. Every episode is them imagining and doing imaginary play and doing something else. There's always, whether it's, Noisy Neighbors, which is the first episode we'll talk about a little bit later, where they're imagining different things, or Around the Nursery in 80 Days, which is another one. It's always just basically them playing and whatever they're imagining. Yeah. So that's kind of the overview summary of it.
Yeah, we actually thought about following up with and watching like Fraggle Rock for the show and then one of the Muppet movies, but my concern was that if we themed a whole month, if you don't like the Muppets, we're kind of losing you. And so this ran for 7 years, from 1984 to 1991, 107 episodes, so just enough.
8 seasons.
Oh, I'm sorry. 7 years, but 8 seasons.
8 seasons,
yes.
yep.
Just enough for syndication with 107 episodes. The idea to make the Muppets into babies came from Michael Frith, who was a collaborator of Jim Henson's, and he thought that you could take the characters and make them younger and then have like moral lessons in a way, or like educational messages for kids who are already familiar with the characters. Mm-hmm. And Frank Oz apparently did not want to do that. he wanted the Muppets to kind of have a subversive edge to them. So they basically came up with this compromise, and they did a dream sequence for the Muppets Take Manhattan, which is a 1984 movie. And I like that movie. We'll review it at some point. A lot of people thought that it was softer for the Muppets, that they always were kind of, the Muppets had a segment on Saturday Night Live the first year. Mm-hmm. They were kind of a little bit edgier, even like not really Sesame Street, because that's kind of a separate thing. Right. But the actual Muppets kind of were like, a crossover for adult entertainment and kids.
Yeah, it was a nightly show. It was a primetime show originally.
Yeah. So basically, they went back and forth about it, and the deciding factor was the merchandise.
Of course.
Of course it was. The merchandising after that movie for Muppet Baby stuff went through the roof. And basically, Jim Henson had a couple of projects, one of which was Labyrinth, and the other was The Dark Crystal. And he wanted to cover those movies, but he needed capital. So they kind of used the money from the merchandising for the Muppet Babies to then do these passion projects. So he wasn't really as involved in the Muppet Babies.
Yes.
He didn't do the voice. I mean, he oversaw some of the stories, but he didn't do the voices or anything like that.
It was very strategically set up because they had the dream sequence in Muppets Take Manhattan, and that movie came out 2 months before the Muppet Babies cartoon started.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like a little taste of Peggy having the daydream of what it would be like for her and Kermit to have grown up together.
Yes.
And then you've got the Muppets
growing up together.
Then you have the Muppet Babies 2 months later.
Yeah. And they also did another kind of, I want to call it live action with puppets of the Muppet Babies for the Muppet Family Christmas special, which came out, I think, in 86.
Okay.
So kind of to reinforce that they had all grown up together and this is now part of the lore. I think it's interesting that they kind of deliberately decided not to explain the nursery. So we watched the pilot. We'll get into it in a minute. But they went back and forth, like, should we explain it? And eventually they were like, kids don't care.
Yeah.
So is this a foster situation? Is it a daycare? Is she like their mom, or is she like their babysitter?
Yeah, you have nanny, but they never mention the actual parents of the Muppets.
No, they don't explain anything. But they really don't. They kind of decided they didn't need to. And Skeeter, who's really not in anything else, was there just to fix like the gender imbalance. They didn't want Piggy being the only girl, basically.
Right, because Scooter was in the Muppet Show.
Yes.
But Skeeter wasn't originally.
And basically they've said, well, Skeeter's like an adventurer and she's just off on adventures. She doesn't want to be part of in the original Muppet Show, Scooter's uncle owns the theater that they perform in. But we had some famous voices. Dave Coulier of Full House did some of the voices. Howie Mandel, who did Bobby's World.
And this would have been before both of those for those two. So this would have been there earlier.
Barbara Billingsley, who was June Cleaver in Leave It to Beaver. She does Nanny's voice. Russie Taylor, again, we have heard about Russie Taylor a couple times. Minnie Mouse and Strawberry Shortcake. She also later did My Little Pony and DuckTales. So she does some of the voices. So yeah, they kind of had some really famous people like before they were famous in some cases, and in some cases after. But we see kind of the staple of the Muppet Babies is that they find themselves in scenes where there's film footage, sometimes of famous films and sometimes like stock footage. Part of that was because by doing the clips, they didn't have to do as much animation. So it's a time-saving device where they can kind of save money, but in it was basically a creative choice. And Jim Henson, in some instances, secured the rights for clips from like Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark because he was friends with George Lucas and Steven Spielberg.
Right.
In other cases, apparently he just didn't even ask. And when asked about it, he was kind of like, I'm Jim Henson. What are they going to do? Like, we're all friends and we all work together, you know.
Right.
So that's basically why the show's not available for streaming.
Okay.
That the ones that we watched on YouTube looked like somebody had taped them off of TV. Mm-hmm. Or possibly if they had, like, the VHS copies. But sifting through, like, the legal entanglements, Disney apparently just isn't interested in, like, trying to do that.
Yeah, it was interesting because the first episode we watched looks like someone taped it off of the Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
And the second episode we watched looked like it was taped off the Disney Channel,
Yes.
which it would have been on at one point, because it's interesting that initially the Muppet Babies 1984 to 91 run was produced and put out by Jim Henson Entertainment in conjunction with Marvel Entertainment.
Right.
And now Disney owns both of those companies
Yes.
separately. Like, it took over Jim Henson first and then Marvel later.
And they own the Star Wars stuff as well. But,
Right now.
But at the same point, they don't own things like Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I think it's like that. And some of the stock footage might be now copyrighted. They also had, which I do not remember this.
And they do have Raiders of the Lost Ark because they own Lucas. They own
Yes,
Lucasfilms,
you're right.
yeah.
But my point is there's a lot that they do.
Yep.
So they had another show called Muppet Monsters. Do you remember that
I
at
don't
all?
remember that.
This only aired for like 15. They had 15 produced, but they only aired 3 episodes. And then Henson, and this ran on CBS, and neither of them thought the quality was there. They were just kind of stretched too thin. But they had new Muppet monster characters, Tug, Molly, and Boo. I would really have liked to have seen that.
Okay.
And later on, I mean, it ended up ending because of Jim Henson's death, which a lot of the things at that time kind of shut down until Disney purchased everything. But it was turned into a live stage show. And then there was a reboot, which we did watch, which premiered on Disney Junior and aired from 2018 to 2021. So this is CGI, but kind of targeted a little bit younger audience, like 4 to 7. Whereas I feel like the version that we watched was maybe like 5 to 10, a little bit older.
Right.
And that was done with 2 11-minute stories instead of one longer 22-minute story. So that's basically a little bit of the history of the Muppet Babies, how they came to be, and why it's so hard to find. Why it's so hard to find today.
So now we're going to pause for a quick commercial break.
Yep. And then when we come back, we'll talk about our memories and we'll do the full review and recap. This podcast is supported by its creators.
And listeners like you.
Help keep our show ad-free by visiting our website, stopruiningmychildhood.com.
There you can find links to our social media.
And this very podcast you're currently listening to.
Both Megan and I are authors, and you can find links to our books on our About page.
And on our Watch With Us page, you can find videos and links for all the shows and movies we discuss on the podcast.
And more importantly, links to buy the nostalgic snacks we review as well.
We also post bonus content about once a month.
So like, subscribe, and follow.
For a small independent podcast like ours, it really does make a difference. Thanks. And now back to the show. Okay, we are back. In case you forgot, I'm Megan.
And I'm Steve.
So, what are some of your memories about Muppet Babies?
I remember Muppet Babies, growing up. I remember watching the cartoons regularly. Again, to be honest, I don't even recall if I watched it a lot when it first came out, or if I maybe saw it in syndication, or a mix of both, probably.
With your brothers, did you watch it?
Yeah, I mean, we probably watched it later, too, because I'm sure it was syndicated and it was on, after school, or it was on, regular stuff. As we discussed, there was 8 seasons, 107 episodes. So it went from 84 to 91. By 89, they had enough for syndication, and it went into syndication.
Oh, okay.
And it went into syndication with Nickelodeon.
Oh.
So, and we didn't have like cable really until I was much older.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that we would have seen it probably on like Saturday morning cartoons or something, and then just I probably saw it later in when it was on Nickelodeon and when I was maybe in a teenager probably.
Yeah, it's 91. I think I would have been in 5th grade, and I love the Muppets. Like, the Muppets are really one of my very favorite things. It's just exactly my sense of humor. And my brother and I loved Muppet Babies. And this was most Saturday morning cartoons. You'll hear me talk about, like, we talked about Alvin and the Chipmunks a couple weeks ago. And I was like, it was like on Saturday morning, things like that. This was, like, for us, appointment television.
Oh,
like,
really?
We were like, Muppet Babies comes on at 7:30, then we better be downstairs in front of that TV at 7:30 with our cereal. Like,
it's funny because I was, like, during this run, I would have been 7 to 14.
right.
So I remember a lot of the episodes I remember, like ones we watched, were from early in the Muppet Babies series.
Yeah.
Because by the time I was 10 or 11, I probably would have stopped. I would have been watching other things.
And I was going to say, this is even like, I did watch Sesame Street like way too long as well, but this, I watched the full run. Like I'm saying I would have been in 5th grade and possibly even like 6th grade middle school.
Yeah.
And I did not care. This is like, I just really, really enjoyed it and liked it quite a bit.
I feel like we may have had my brothers and I may have had a few toys.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't think we would have bought them, but I feel like maybe there might have been like Muppet Baby, like Happy Meal toy kind of stuff that we probably got our hands on.
Yeah, I feel like I remember that too. And I don't remember buying any of the merchandising exactly. At one point we had some puppets. We had a Kermit the Frog puppet, but that was like my mom would do like things for kids at church. And I don't think that was really like us playing with them.
We had one of those. Was it the kind that didn't have a bottom half, right?
No, ours didn't.
Ours was Kermit from the waist up, and it was a hand puppet, and his mouth was hard plastic, and his hands have Velcro on them. So
the hands had Velcro.
Yeah, I remember that. We had that.
Yeah, the hands had Velcro.
And my brother had a Kermit the Frog piggy bank.
Oh, nice.
So, I mean, we did have... And I feel like we might have had a Fozzie Bear, like, stuffed animal, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say, so Tim would have been younger, and I think he might have had, like, a stuffed piggy or a stuffed Gonzo or Fozzie, something like that. But the bigger thing was, unlike some of the other things we've talked about where, like, the toys are kind of the bigger thing. The bigger thing for us was just the show. I just really liked it because it does focus so much on imagination, which is, like, a big... I don't know how to put it. It's like something I really value,
right.
I guess is how I should put it. And so I was really worried this week. I was worried that I was going to ruin my childhood. And we'll see whether or not I did.
I don't, like I said, we watched it a little bit. We were not as Muppet enthralled as you and your brother were. But, watching it, what it did to me is it brought back memories. Not necessarily as much of Muppet Babies, but it brought back memories of me and my brothers because we played like this a lot.
That's what I was going to say, too.
We basically were the same way. We had a basement where all our toys were.
Yes.
And we were down there, like, if we weren't in school, we were down there, like, all day long playing with, like, imagining we were in different things.
Yeah, I was going to wait till we got into the episode, but I will say that is 100%. I was like, oh my gosh, my brother and I used to play that game, or, oh my gosh, my friends would come over. So I grew up with, my cousins lived just a couple blocks over. So growing up, our cousins really were like more siblings.
Right.
In a way. And so they do a lot of things in this show that we, all 5 of us did. My brother and I and my 3 cousins, Sarah, Lindsay, and Brad. And that was a really fun thing to kind of experience while we were watching it. So let's get into the actual episodes. The first one we watched is the pilot, Noisy Neighbors.
Yep, season 1, episode 1. The Muppet Babies are playing Battleship at the beginning and being very loud, and basically they keep having to get stopped because they keep being so loud that they're waking up their neighbor, Officer Carruthers, who's a police officer who works nights. Now, I don't know if this lavish, really large, beautiful nursery is in an apartment, or if Officer Carruthers' house is just really close to their house.
Officer Carruthers needs to, like, maybe not live by a daycare if he's that concerned about
Well, it never says if this is a daycare or if they live with Nanny.
I know.
And so that's my thought. I'm like, how close does Officer Carruthers live that a bunch of toddlers can wake him up?
I also was like, Officer Carruthers, they're just being kids. Like, stop it.
Chill out, Officer Carruthers.
So we go through all this thing. So we start with, oh man, the intro song is so catchy. I love it. Just close your eyes and make believe, and you can be anywhere. That's that's the point of this show, right?
Yeah, it's an earworm. I can still remember all of the lyrics to the Muppet Babies song.
So they're pretending to be a submarine. Gonzo's nose is the periscope. This is and they're in a cardboard box. I definitely played submarine in a cardboard box. Yeah. We had an actual. Did you guys have like a fake little like plastic periscope toy?
Well, we had Omegals, which are tube. It's a tube system you can build anything out of.
Oh,
so we would build vehicles, we would build you could build anything out of Omegals.
Yeah, we made a like a rolling cart that we would, and they do in the next episode, they play grocery store.
Yeah.
And we made that out of
Omegals that could build any vehicle, and then we had these red cardboard bricks.
Oh, I love those.
That we built any building that we needed to be in.
We didn't have those, but my daycare did. She had the red ones and the multicolored, and I would just like gravitate toward those. And like, I love building stuff.
We would also. This is going to sound ridiculous. I don't think my mom listens to our podcast, so I can say
it's fine.
This is going to sound ridiculous to most people, but for about a 4 or 5 year period in my childhood, we had a 6 foot by 6 foot by 6 foot jungle gym in my living room. In the middle of our living room, to my father's dismay.
Well, listen, we live in New York. You can't be outside a lot of the time. It's cold and snowy.
And my mother babysat, so there was always lots of kids. There was the 3 of us. We had neighbors right next door, which were 2 girls our age, who were always with us. We had a cousin our age, so there was at least 6 of us at all times. And we had she bought it from a daycare. It was a legitimately commercial jungle gym in the middle of our living room.
I want to see pictures sometime. That's hysterical.
I think she still had it until we were adults. Like she put it in a shed or something, but she still had it. Yeah.
So they've got one group in the submarine, one group on the couch. Here's what I really liked the setup. I always thought that they only had movie clips in some episodes, and I forgot that what they do is they show the kids playing and they show like the cardboard box. Mm-hmm. Then they show a stock footage film clip of a submarine coming up against a battleship. Then when they re-show the kids, they're like now in a cartoon submarine.
Yeah.
So I really thought that was cool to show like the reality, the inspiration, and then their imagination world and what all 3 of those look like kind of in conjunction. I also thought Piggy is much nicer as a Muppet Baby than she is as a Muppet.
She has a little bit of attitude, but she's much nicer, yes.
She's not hitting anybody or saying hi-ya or emotionally abusing Kermit.
No.
And Gonzo has a crush on Piggy, which is interesting. I don't think that is the case with the actual like adult Muppets.
I don't recall that.
He's more like into Camilla.
Into, like, chickens and stuff.
Yeah, because he's
yeah.
basically, well, later on they say that he's like an alien because they have a whole movie about him, but he's like got feathers and a note. He's kind of a bird, possibly. But here's what I thought was interesting. You know, with Alvin and the Chipmunks, they broke it up into segments, right? Mm-hmm. There were 2 short episodes, and then the reboot of this, there were 2 short episodes too. Here, they kind of had segments, but it wasn't like an official break of the story.
No, the whole story was pretty much the half hour.
Right. So they're doing the submarine battleship play, Officer Carruthers Complains. Then we have they're reading a story and they're imagining themselves in the roles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Piggy tries to read a story.
Yeah.
Then Ralph tries singing a lullaby. And then Gonzo tries watching TV. Because they're trying to keep Animal quiet, who's the loudest.
Yeah, so it's kind of neat that it's still like it's segmented into these different types of imaginative play. I liked when they're reading the story, Piggy's like, and I want bonbons and also mashed potatoes and also cake and also ice cream. And I was like, that's me right now. I'm a little peckish. But I love they have a dragon, and to make it less scary for kids, it's a dancing dragon.
Yes.
And then Kermit defeats it by dancing along with it. Then they're like, Officer Carruthers is going to come for us, because he complains again, and they imagine themselves for a moment in like prison striped uniforms.
Yeah, running from like a spotlight. That was
and then we try to put Animal to sleep, but the lullaby's more like a rock song.
It's like, well, it does go, because I feel like Ralph played a lot of jazz.
Yeah.
And so it's very it's kind of jazzy, upbeat. It's not like a lullaby.
And we have I remembered that Nanny is only shown from the waist down. I did find that kind of creepy a little bit.
Yeah, and always with the green striped socks.
Yes. But then we have Gonzo watching TV, and this is my favorite. This is why I love the Muppets, because this little parody, instead of Superman, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman.
Yes.
It's a duck. I can't do it without coughing. Sorry, guys. It's a duck. It's a blimp. It's Super Gonzo.
Yeah.
I just love that they pick, to me, the funniest bird and the most ridiculous thing that could be in the sky.
Yeah.
So we have Super Gonzo and Cluck Kent and Piggy Lane, and then Animal crawls into the TV, and he becomes King Kong, but it's a mixture of Super Gonzo and King Kong. So again, it's like you are taking the story as a jumping off point, but that's what kids do. They mix it up together. Right. Like we were at small family party, and that is how our nieces and nephews were playing. You could hear, they're like, okay, so it'll be like this show, but except we're going to add this, and then also we're going to do that. And they have like these elaborate rules for these games they're playing.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's very much the adults who wrote this really, really kind of got it right. They also call back old Tech Alert. Gonzo as Super Gonzo goes into a phone booth to change, and the operator is like, you'll need 25 cents.
Yes.
So that was kind of fun too. What did you think overall, though, of this particular episode?
It was a good episode. I mean, it was, it kind of lays the groundwork. They did, of course, have the little, like, live action TV insert, like you mentioned earlier. This one was quick. It was just Gonzo opens a closet door to look to hide, and there's a Star Cruiser from Star Wars that's shooting, and he's like, oh, not in there, and he closes it. Yes. But that's the only thing that they really had in this one.
And the beginning with the battleship scenes.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't have quite as many. It felt a tiny bit long to me. I don't know if that's the editing or the comedy beats. It just didn't seem to move along quite as quickly, but that's a very minor.
It's also the pilot, so they're kind of laying groundwork.
Yeah, and figuring out.
Set it up.
Yeah. So then we skipped over to season 3, episode 11, Around the Nursery in 80 Days. Now, I know that we're watching this on YouTube, but you can tell it's not just how they ripped the VHS or whatever. The animation really was better.
It stepped up a little bit, yeah, because you're now 2 seasons in. They probably, they probably hired new animators.
Bunsen and Beaker are in the intro, and this version of the intro had the lines about, like, I fly through air, and I like adventure, I like romance.
Yeah, they kind of introduced each of the characters a little
Which
bit.
I guess was always there, but sometimes would be cut because of commercials.
I didn't remember it being part of the song.
You didn't? Oh, I remember the whole thing.
See, but I probably was done watching it by season 3.
Right.
So I probably remember the original song, which...
Well, or if they cut it for commercials if you're watching it in syndication.
Right.
Also, you didn't watch this, like, religiously every Saturday.
That's true. Well, no, because the intro animation is different in this season.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I only remember the original.
Oh, okay. Because I remember when they say, like, I like adventure, Kermit swings like Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that.
Yeah. So here we start. They're playing grocery store. Oh, man. They have this cash register. Did you have the Fisher Price cash register with the plastic coins?
We had one. I don't recall.
Man.
How We didn't do a lot of cash register stuff. I mean, we played a little bit of grocery store, but that's just not I don't want to say it's not a boy game, but it really was. It's not something we were we did have fake food and things. Yeah. We had a fake kitchen.
Yes.
Which we did stuff in, but we didn't really have as much of a grocery. We did have a shopping cart, I believe.
We did not have a fake kitchen, and I never got a, what do you call it? Oh, easy bake oven. Mm-hmm. Because my mother kind of believed, like, if you want to play at cooking, just come in the kitchen and cook.
And learn how to cook.
And then later, she would kind of get mad at me for using all of her ingredients. Because I would be like, I'm going to make a cake, but I don't really have a recipe, but I'm just going to figure it out. And she'd be like, Megan! And then we got some kids' cookbooks and stuff like that. So I don't think we had a play kitchen, if I'm recalling correctly. But I think what we had were just like fake pretend. We had a lot of dress-up clothes. Like a whole big barrel of dress-up clothes. And we would go to garage sales and buy like old lady clothes and then use those for dress-up. Like we would buy like neon green bell bottoms or somebody would be like selling their wigs and like we would buy their wigs. We bought like a fur stole, like those kind of things.
We didn't have a lot of dress up stuff either. We didn't do dress up as much.
Well, you were 3 guys.
Yeah. And I know now, and my younger brothers wouldn't remember this because I was younger when I lived in Texas. I used to like to play chemist.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I had a chemistry set.
And so I didn't. So I would mix concoctions from the bathroom.
No.
Yeah. And so I would get in a little bit of trouble because bathroom ingredients are expensive. Well, and I would mix like toothpaste with like mouthwash with like pretty much anything else I could find. Oh, yeah. And I wouldn't drink them, but I would make concoctions.
When you're saying this, I'm picturing you mixing like ammonia cleaning products with like bleach cleaning products and causing explosions.
Luckily, to my knowledge, I did not poison myself.
I had a chemistry set and there were directions and I was like, that's no fun. And I just mixed everything.
I got a chemistry set later when I was probably like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
But this is when I was probably like 7. And so I would use up all the stuff in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. But yeah, we had this little Fisher Price cash register, and it had coins of different sizes that were plastic and that you'd put in each thing. But it's a really fun way for kids to learn math. So they're doing that, and then we have Gonzo takes a toy soldier that he's going to buy and check out with, and then the soldier becomes real, but we still only see the soldier from the waist down because it's an adult. So I thought that was kind of funny. And Gonzo gets food stamps, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like...
They don't explain it. They
don't explain it, but I also thought it was nice, like, for kids who had food stamps to not make them feel like that was weird or different or bad. And then we learn that Nanny's going on vacation.
Yes, this grocery shopping thing is all just a quick intro because they go to give their groceries to Nanny and find out, they overhear her on the phone saying she's going away. And they're like, oh, maybe she's going to surprise us and we're all going away.
Nope.
And then she was like, I haven't found someone to watch the kids yet. They were like, what?
But also, Steve turns and looks at me and he goes, what is she going on from vacation for? She doesn't do anything.
She doesn't even watch the kids. She only walks into the nursery like once a day.
Which is also a very 80s thing, though.
That's true.
That there's no helicopter parent, that the kids are just playing on their own. Yeah. Like, go ahead. You're not going to get in too much trouble.
But it's funny, too, because I remember thinking to myself, she's like, I haven't found someone to watch the kids yet. And I'm like, yeah, because you got to ask someone to watch 9 toddlers.
Yeah.
Who's going to be like, yeah, no problem. That's crazy.
But also, you don't watch the kids.
Yeah.
For the most part.
You really need a house sitter that's just going to peek in the nursery and make sure they haven't killed each other.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, if there's no nanny, we can stay up all night. We don't have to take baths and we can eat whatever we want.
Thanks for house sitting for me. Once a day, just throw some donuts in that room and let the kids eat it.
So we have all of these. First, we go through like who could be our babysitter, and Piggy imagines just a larger version of herself.
Yes.
Again, only seen from the waist down.
Yeah. And if we can think about this, it's funny because you said Miss Piggy's a little different than older version.
Yeah.
But Miss Piggy, the babysitter, kind of like, emotionally, mentally terrorizes the Muppets.
Yeah.
She dresses them all the same as her. They have to decorate everything in pink.
Yeah, it's a really pretty nursery, though, all in pink, I have to say. Then an animal, they're like, what if it's somebody ugly, smelly, or hairy? And Animal's like, smelly, ugly, hairy. And this is my favorite part of this episode. They go, Animal, turn off your imagination.
Yeah.
But it's too late, and there's basically like
It's King Kong. The first thing he imagines is video footage from like the 1930s
Yes.
King Kong, the black and white.
So it's funny that to me that we just picked like two random episodes. They both have King Kong references.
Yeah.
In them. And then then we have Nanny Vader.
Yes, which again has footage from Star Wars.
Yes.
And of course, Return of the Jedi was in 1983.
Right. So it was from there.
Culturally
and what I
relevant.
love is that they voice over, first of all, because it's stock footage, we do see Darth Vader head and shoulders.
Yeah, we see actual Darth Vader.
But they do a voiceover where he's like, I would like to get to know you better.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. And then when they have the cartoon Darth Vader, it's just from the waist down.
And he has green striped socks on
And he has
with his
green
black
stripe.
cape and his black
It
clothes.
really is quite clever.
Yeah.
It really is clever the way they did it. And then we come to the main part, which is the title of the episode, which is a parody of Around the World in 80 Days, where Kermit is Phileas Frog. Now, I don't know. This would have been season 3. I believe that this is the same year that Pierce Brosnan did a made-for-TV version of Around the World in 80 Days, which I also love. Sometime we'll do just a month where we watch like made-for-TV movies, because we don't really have a spot for them right now. But
there's some great ones.
Oh.
I mean, one of my favorites is Ted Danson did a TV miniseries of Gulliver's Travel.
yeah, and this would have been kind of around that same time. So I don't know. My guess is that it probably was, because a lot of kids watched that. And it is my favorite version. It's really well done. But anyway.
Although they do mention that it's Kermit attributes it to a picture book they have in the nursery.
Yes.
And that's the thing, too, is in the early 80s and even in the 90s, little kids in nurseries had classic stories, which were way better. And it would have been something that would have maybe been read to them.
They had we had those at home too, illustrated classics.
Yep. Yeah,
That's
we
how
definitely
I read the illustrated I read the illustrated classics version of Great Expectations.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know that I've ever actually read Great Expectations. So I'm a college English professor, and the version that I remember of Great Expectations is an illustrated
That's why you
classics.
don't care for it, because I read the actual book and I love Great Expectations.
Well, maybe I'll take another crack at it. But anyway, so they hand Nanny a balloon. And I like here how they obscure her face, and she's got like an umbrella first kind of covering her face, and then later on she's wearing a helmet where they're riding dirt bikes, so you can't see her face.
Now,
Different things.
The whole
like
goal is they're trying to tour her around the nursery so that she sees everything she would on a vacation, and she doesn't have to go.
Yeah, she doesn't have to go to her. They can show her Big Ben and the English Channel and Paris. And they go through really... It's cool that they have a different animation style to see like Egypt, the Arctic, Morocco, Netherlands, the Alps, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. But also, there's no rhyme or reason to how or what order.
No, it's not necessarily
Which
in
is kind of
order.
which is kind of funny to me. Then we kind of show back in the nursery, the balloon pops, the Eiffel Tower falls, and we get in Animal's car. And this is a classic Muppet joke where they even call it out in, I think, the Muppet movie that Jason Segel did. They travel by map.
Right.
So they show them getting in the car, and then they show a map with like da, 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 and then they arrive at in Greece, and they see the ancient ruins.
Yeah, and then they crash the car.
Yes.
So they have to take tricycle, which becomes
Dirt bike.
dirt bike quads
Yes.
through the desert.
And the ancient Greek ruins were just like a mattress on top of pillows.
Yes.
Which is, oh man, that was like our favorite thing, was we would make a pillow fort and a blanket fort like through our whole downstairs pretty much spanned the length of the house. So just imagine, Steve, like our living room, but it's all just pillows and blankets and tents. Yeah. Tent city. So again, a lot like childhood. Lots more film footage than we saw in the pilot. And then they try to emotionally manipulate Nanny to stay. Like, didn't you love this trip? You don't have to leave us now, right, Nanny? And she's like, And then Nanny's sister Fanny comes in. And she has also striped tights, but they're pink and purple instead of the light green, dark green.
Yes, so they find out Fanny's going to babysit, and they like that because she's fun.
Well, Fanny starts riding a skateboard while dribbling a basketball, so I could see how Fanny would be quite a bit of fun.
Well, I mean, first off, she engages the kids.
Yes.
Instead of just walking out the door and leaving them on their own.
That's true, yeah.
She actually plays with them.
She might be a better sitter than Nanny would be.
My only issue with the episode is it's called Around the Nursery in 80 Days, and that section is literally only like a third of the entire episode. You really don't get to that part until almost near the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's true. I even looked it up because I was like, Steve, did they label this wrong? Like on because it's just on YouTube.
It makes sense by the end, but it takes a while to get where they're going.
Yeah, it took a while to get there. But it didn't take 80 days. Oh, and actually, Fozzie goes, that was a lot less than 80 days. And Gonzo goes, yeah, more like 20 minutes. Which is funny because that's about how long the episode is. I need to get a watch. Yeah, but that's about how long the episode is. So it's a cute little joke there at the end.
So we jump to the 2018 remake.
Yes. So this is, we have an added character of a penguin named Summer, which is kind of funny. And we do not have Scooter, Skeeter, Ralph, and also Bunsen and Beaker, who were in the intro, but not the particular episode we watched from season 3. Yeah. So we only have 6 characters. It's a little less frenetic with just the 6, right? We have Fozzie, Kermit, Piggy, Summer, Gonzo, and Animal. And everything's in CGI. The nanny is like a younger kind of voice. She's
a younger, skinnier, like hipper nanny, but she's still dressed the same kind of.
Well, she has like stars on her tights instead of stripes. But yeah, this CGI isn't bad. I mean, it was when they did the Imagine scenes, they still changed the type of animation, so that was kind of neat. They don't have any film clips at all.
Yeah, and can I mention this? Once again, CGI doesn't make something better.
No.
This is with Strawberry Shortcake, with G.I. Joe. This is not the first time now we've seen a remake of something where they go to computer generation, and it's to me it's not better. They should have stayed with kids. Don't care about computer generation as much as like you're trying to make it more realistic. They like animation. I like cartoons.
I think it's cheaper. to do.
People draw it out.
Yeah, but even so, still, like, to be honest, like, South Park, I think, is done CGI now, but it still has that flat look. Right. Like, you don't have to render everything 3D. I mean, the CGI isn't that bad, but they're outside instead of in the nursery. I think that might be like to encourage kids to be outside. So basically the story is we watched Playground Pirates and Blanket Fort. So season 1, episode 6. The story of Playground Pirates is that Nanny's lost an earring and they're going to try to find it and they pretend to be pirates. Kermit tries to do everything and they have another song, which the song wasn't too bad. But what bothered me about this is that I don't like it when shows treat kids like idiots. You don't have to have a forced moral lesson.
Right.
And what my brother and I, when we watch the show, and I'm sure this is true of you guys, it's just a fun show about kids imagining stuff. Yeah. And there might be an implied lesson, but this was a very forced, like, it's not just fun imagining things, right? And because it was a forced lesson, it's not as fun to watch.
Yeah.
And the lesson is you can't do everything yourself. Even if you're the leader, you have to have other people help you.
Right. Because Kermit keeps trying to do everything as the pirate captain.
And it annoyed me for that reason. And this is what I've seen of a lot of kids' shows today, that what's interesting to me is, so Steve and I had a book publishing company and we're still authors now. You'll know that if you read the About Us on our website. But we, the trends of publishing for books has gone away from this like didactic, we have to teach a lesson, into more like just read for fun because reading is fun and these are fun stories to tell, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me that TV has seemed to go the opposite direction of like the 80s TV shows that we watched. Muppet Babies, Alvin and the Chipmunks, He-Man, so far. Like, Strawberry Shortcake maybe had a little more of a lesson, but they're not based, they're just these crazy ideas. Yeah. We're going to watch, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles later on in a couple weeks. That doesn't have a lesson.
G.I. Joe had one at the
doesn't
end.
Have a lesson.
If you remember, He-Man and G.I. Joe had one at the end, but they had to as part of the... Because they were what was considered a violent show,
right?
So they had to have like a wholesome message, but it was always at the end of the episode, like is a moral that. And they
it's not built into the entire episode where that's the point,
right?
Because you know what, kids don't like that as much.
No.
And I realize this was on Disney Junior and not regular Disney, but I'm going to tell you, you don't need to force a moral lesson in TV for kids over 3 or 4 or 5 either. They're going to be like whatever and turn it off. So that was kind of my complaint there. Now that I've done ranting.
My complaint is also Summer the Penguin is the worst.
She doesn't really have a clear personality.
She doesn't. She's Summer likes art is what how they introduce her in the song, which is fine. But you could have done that with Skeeter or Scooter or Ralph, who liked music, and you got rid of him, and it was a downgrade. This is a complete example of new writers from a different generation trying to put their stamp on something. They wanted their own created character. And it's a downgrade. They should have gone with even Bunsen or Beaker. There was plenty of established Muppet Baby characters that could have been put in here without adding a new one that no one cares about. No one cares about the Penguin.
Yeah, there's also enough established adult Muppet characters that you could grab from.
Yes.
If you want another girl, Janice is right there.
Yeah.
There's another pig that we sometimes see. Mm-hmm. There are... I'm thinking of the bunny character who's so cute, who comes in later. I forget his name. He's even featured in the Muppet Christmas Carol. Bean the bunny.
Yep.
There's so many Muppet characters, and also just having 6 of them, like I said, it's much more like calm, structured play.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh my gosh, Gonzo's doing this, and then Animal's doing that, and then Fozzie's over here, and then Ralph's trying to play the piano, and then Scooter's jumping around on a skateboard because she's kind of sport. Like, there's not that chaos, and chaos really is one of the traits of the Muppets in general. Yeah. So I did like that they were playing outside.
I did too, cool. And I mean... At the end of the day, the remake, it still has the feeling of a fun kind of show.
Yeah.
So it's not terrible. But what I would say is my suggestion to anybody looking for television programming for their kids is show them the original. You have 8 seasons of episodes, 107 episodes. I would much rather show kids the original, and the remake is a downgrade, and it didn't last that long.
No, and then they had some lawsuits and stuff.
Yeah, but it's just...
So, we'll stop our Gen X ranting about the Gen Zers are watching these days.
Let me move into reception. It was pretty widely accepted well in the 1984 to 1991. That was 8 seasons of the original Muppet Babies. It won a Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Program. It won an Outstanding Film Sound Editing.
Yeah, I can imagine, because they had to do quite a bit of...
Yes.
Yeah.
It was nominated for Outstanding Music, Direction, and Composition Emmy. All in all, amongst its seasons, it won 7 Emmys.
Oh, wow.
Which is quite a bit, especially for a cartoon.
Yeah.
In 2009... IGN named Muppet Babies number 31 out of the top 100 best animated TV shows.
Oh, that's so good.
So it had a really good reception, and it still kind of had a carried-on reception.
Yeah, so what did we think of it?
So out of pacifiers... you go first, because I've gone first before.
I mean, look, I was a huge fan of this show as a kid, and I really was worried because after Strawberry Shortcake, I was hesitant to take something that I love so much. To me, it really, we're only rating the original. To me, it really held up. Did I think it was a tad bit slow in some sections? Yes, but nothing. I always wonder if I'm going to be annoyed, and nothing annoyed me. I thought it was a sweet story. It brought back a lot of memories of imaginative play. I think it would be great for kids to watch and then turn off the TV and go play, and they can have some of these kind of crazy adventures. And the music was okay. The animation, especially in the later seasons, is better, right? I'm not going to sit around and watch it at this point, but if we had kids, I would put it on and enjoy it with them for sure. So I'm going to give it 8 pacifiers out of 10.
All right. Yeah, I thought it was good too. I mean, it's a little bit younger, programming for my memory necessarily. Like I said, I do remember it from my childhood. I did like the original quite a bit. I would give it 7 pacifiers.
Okay, so we're not too far apart.
No, so we're at 7.5 total.
Pause for effect.
Yeah! 7.5
pacifiers for Muppet Babies and 2.5 for Smarties, our snack today. Yeah. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for.
Have we all been waiting for it?
Yes, I've been waiting for this for like 2 weeks.
So the moment Megan has been waiting for.
Okay. Next week, we are watching Little House on the Prairie. And I'm very excited. So, the episodes that I picked we're going to watch 3 episodes because it was a very long running show and there are like kind of what we had with Cheers, there are a lot of different people in the ensemble and the story kind of changes. So I picked episode, the pilot episode that aired after the movie, which is episode 1, Harvest of Friends. So we get kind of a taste for the show. And then also season 6, episode 25, which is Sweet 16.
Okay.
All right. So here are your choices. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. Season 1, episode 18, Plague. Typhoid is unleashed on an unsuspecting Walnut Grove. Season 3, episode 2, Bunny. When Nellie Olson is seriously injured after falling from Laura's horse Bunny, she pretends to be paralyzed.
Okay.
I want to say...
Did you choose like the darkest episodes you could possibly
There are some
find?
that are dark and some that are funny because I didn't know which way you would want to go.
Okay.
This show had a lot of really, really dark episodes, and because of the nature of this podcast, like, there are some things involved like assault and I just didn't want to. Season 4, episode 6, The Creeper of Walnut Grove. Laura and Andy Garvey become detectives to solve a series of burglaries in Walnut Grove, but end up catching her father in their snares. Season 4, episode 21, I'll Be Waving As You Drive Away. Just as Mary falls for the new boy in town, her eyesight begins to worsen and the family learns she will still go blind. Season 6, episode 12, Cross Connections. The telephone comes to Walnut Grove, and when Mrs. Olson works the switchboard, she begins listening on people's private conversations.
Okay.
And season 9, episode 20, For the Love of Blanche. Mr. Edwards swears he'll find a home for a dying man's little girl, not knowing that she is actually an orangutan. So you can pick a darker one or you can pick a lighter one. We've got Plague, we've got Bunny.
I'm going to go with the telephone.
Okay,
episode.
Crossed Connections. Okay. Crossed Connections. That is a good choice. So next time we will be talking about Little House on the Prairie, and we will be going over the episodes Harvest of Friends, Crossed Connections, and Sweet 16.
Are we doing all 3?
We're doing
Those are hour-long episodes. That's
They're
a lot
45 minutes, and you'll get through it. It'll be fine. So, before we close out, I just want to say that I just want to thank everybody for listening because we kind of had a little bit of like an explosion in our listening. our number of downloads and everything went way up this past couple weeks. We record these a couple weeks ahead of time, so I'm not going to say our exact number of downloads, but I just wanted to say we've got right now, Steve, listeners who are in the US, the UK, Australia, Iran, India, South Africa, Canada, France, Slovakia, Barbados, Colombia, Kenya, Russia, Nigeria, South Korea, Ireland, New Zealand, the Isle of Man, Turkey, Spain, Pakistan, Sweden, Italy, and a number of other countries where there's 1 or 2 downloads, and then I guess they were like, nah, I don't want to listen to that anymore.
Wow.
But I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
We're like the did I just ruin my childhood UN?
Yes. We have become the UN of 80s and 90s rewatch podcasts.
I like that.
We just want to say thank you to everybody listening, either stateside or internationally. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your support and your listenership. Thank you for following us.
Also, we don't want this necessarily just be one-sided. We mentioned before we did do Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory,
yes,
which was a listener suggestion.
Yep.
So by all means, please, if you have suggestions of something from your childhood that you'd like us to review from the 80s, 90s, and we can even stretch that a little bit, reach out to us on our website, which is
StopRuiningMyChildhood.com. And we also are on YouTube now. So
you can listen to us on YouTube and leave a comment if you have a suggestion.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, like us, subscribe, and follow. And as Steve said, we take listener suggestions, and we actually have one, which we're not doing for this cycle for the movie, but we will for next time. So we're really excited about that. And we can't wait to hear from all of you. So thank you guys so much, and we will see you next week, where we have not only our episode, but a bonus for Mother's Day. Freaky Friday, the 1977, and the 2008.
Awesome.
2003. I don't know. Either way, we're watching both, and it's going to be me and my mom talking about mothers and daughters and all that kind of fun stuff. So we will see you then. Thanks, everybody.